Hey guys, this is Skelly. I thought I'd make a tutorial on Ancilla Splash Sleet, which is a really powerful trick in Link to the Past. That basically allows you to fake flipper anywhere as long as you have a couple tools. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, I just jumped in the water and I'm swimming now. The reason for that is because I overloaded all of my Ancilla slots. So let's take a step back and talk about what an Ancilla actually is. So an Ancilla is basically any object or effect that Link creates. So for example, an arrow is an Ancilla. An arrow stuck in the wall, that's a different kind of Ancilla. Bombs are Ancilla. The boomerang is an Ancilla. All the sparkles boomerang makes are Ancilla. The clink the boomerang makes when it hits the wall, that's an Ancilla. And there's only a limited number of spots these Ancilla can stay in, because the SNES only has a certain amount of memory, so the developers limited it to only 10. To see these slots, you can go to the practice hack menu. Under HUD extras, I have line 1 and 2 set like this, and then you want these prop values set to ID. There's other like Ancilla values you can look at instead, but in this case, I'm just showing the ID because all I care about is if the slots are full or not. So you can see like an arrow in flight has ID 9, an arrow in the wall is ID 0A. So on the HUD, the top 5 slots, those are called the front 5, slots 0 through 4. Those are the more important ones for this trick, but there are also 5 additional slots, slots 5 through 9. Those have a different use. They're mostly just reserved for particle effects, whereas the front 5 slots, those are where your like items typically go. So things that actually matter typically go in the front 5 slots. Like these arrows or this bomb, but if I charge my sword and make some sparkle Ancilla, those are placed in the back 5 because sparkles don't really do anything. So the way Splash Sleet works is that the splash itself is actually an Ancilla. You can see it's Ancilla 15, and it also belongs in the front 5 slots. So if we can prevent the splash from spawning, that will actually stop Link from drowning, because the splash is like what actually makes him drown. So that's why this setup I showed earlier, where it's 3 arrows in the wall and 2 bombs, this works because all 5 of those slots are filled. So it really, Splash Sleet is just a matter of getting those front 5 slots filled up in whatever way you can, and then jumping in the water while they are still on screen, and then you'll start swimming. So like another common setup you'll see is 2 bombs, a Samaria block, and then the red boomerang. We'll go into this a little bit more later, but here you can see all 5 of those front 5 slots are filled up. So I did not drown. So right there, that's most of the information you need to know to actually perform this trick. If you are going to take away one thing from this video, it's just this: do 3 arrows and 2 bombs, and that's going to work. And like, I think every situation where you'd actually want to Splash Sleet, that should work, if you actually have that equipment. However, there is one kind of secret trap with Splash Sleet. And this is something that confuses a lot of people, and I think it's not very well understood throughout the community. There's a wrinkle in how this works, and that is the Ancilla slot index value, which sounds very complicated. But basically, if this value is set to something weird, and I can set it to something weird on purpose, like by doing this. Let's try to splash delete now. It didn't work. So why didn't it work? And this is gonna get fairly technical, but I think it's worth going over it just to make it totally clear what's happening. Basically, the game has some built-in routines for trying to be efficient with the Ancilla slots, because I think the developers, they knew like people would be throwing shit all over the place and filling up their slots. So they basically made a way where slots can get recycled, but it's kind of jank how it works. So you can see the slot index at the top right of my screen. It's that 4 next to the ice rod looking thing. And you can view this in the practice hack. Right here in any of these sentry lines, it's ants index. So bottom line up front with this is that you need this value to be set to either 0, 1, or 2 for pretty much any splash delete setup to actually work. Right now it's set to 4, so it's not going to work. The exact way that the slot index works is, well, let's work through an example here. So I'm going to try to do the 3 arrow 2 bomb slash delete. Okay, so I am about to splash. The game is going to try to create a splash. What it's going to do is it's going to look at my slot index, which is currently set to 4. The first thing it does is it will subtract 1 from that number, which in this case will make it 3. If the slot index was set to 0 to begin with, so subtracting 1 makes it negative, then it will immediately set the slot index to whatever the maximum is of the Ancilla you're trying to create, -1. So all Ancilla have like a cap to how many of them can be on the screen at once. Like bombs, you can only have 2 bombs. Ice rod shots, you can only have 2 of those. Fire rod shots, only 2 of those, etc. So in this case, splash, you can only have 1 splash on the screen, I guess. It's not like you could even really make multiple if you tried. But so if the slot index was 0 to begin with, it would subtract 1, go negative. It would set it to the maximum number of splashes that can be on the screen at once, which is 1, and then subtract 1 from that, which is 0. So anyway, after that, you have this number. So in our case, it's going to be 3. The game is going to look at slot 3, which is, well, I can't point at anything on my screen. It's the middle of the 3 0As. It's going to look at that Ancilla, and it's going to, if that is a replaceable Ancilla, it's going to replace that Ancilla with the thing we're trying to make, which in this case is a splash. So because the slot index right now is set to 4, it's going to replace that arrow with the splash. Let's see if I can freeze frame it just the right time. Come on. There we go. So now you'll see our slot index got set to 3. That's because we subtracted 1, like I said earlier, and it replaced the Ancilla that is in slot 3 with the splash. So Link is going to drown. So this is why a lot of the times you'll see people try to do the splash delete and it just doesn't work and they don't understand why at all. Like, I'm going to try it again. Hey, it didn't work, and that's because my slot index was set to 3. Of course, you can't see your slot index when you're playing the game, so it just seems like it's broken for no reason. And that's the thing that can really confuse people. You want to have a little bit of awareness of what your slot index is, or at least know how to fix it. And so that's what I'm going to get into next. So, what actually sets the slot index in the first place? There's basically 2 ways. The most common way by far, I'm going to set my bow to normal before I forget, because silvers are a little bit weird. The most common way by far that the slot index is going to get jacked up is arrow spam. So actually, it's set to 2 right now. I'm just going to load state, set it back to 0. Oh, now it's 3. Very interesting. Here, I'll just do this real quick. Okay, so it's set to 0. So spamming arrows. If you shoot an arrow when there's already 3 wall arrows on screen, the game sets your slot index to 4. That's just how it works. So 1, 2, 3, you'll see the slot index is still set to 0. But as soon as I shoot this 4th arrow, it just got set to 4. And if you keep shooting arrows, it'll actually cycle from 4 to 3 to 2, and then back to 4 to 3 to 2. So if I just stand here and shoot arrows forever, the slot index is just going to keep going between those 3 values. So if at any point in your run, like let's say you killed Armos with the bow, your slot index is probably screwed up. Or the other situation that I run into fairly frequently is Ball and Chain Guard. He takes 4 arrows to kill, so if you kill a Ball and Chain Guard with a bow, you probably jacked it up. The other situation that you can run into, sometimes, I see people do this occasionally, lamp spam. So there's a few Ancilla where if they spawn in slot 2 specifically, it screws up your slot index, and I think this is just straight up a bug. So I'm gonna spawn 3 lamp flames. As soon as I put a lamp flame into slot 2, you'll see my slot index shot up to 10. And by the way, that's hexadecimal 10, so it's really more like 16. And actually, that value changes depending on what direction you're facing when you fire the lamp. This is not very relevant for Splash Elite, but it's if you ever learn no logic and you're interested in hook pushing, it kind of matters. But regardless, it gets set to a really high value if you spam the lamp. So like if you fake powdered or something and you drained all your magic by doing this, that probably screwed up your slot index. So now the question is, how do we fix it? I already kind of showed one way. This is the easiest way. If you just stand next to some deep water and you have bombs equipped, just tap Y 3 times. And suddenly it's set to 0. Or alternatively, let's say you are like not next to deep water, you're up on a ledge or something. What you can do is place 2 bombs, throw one in the water, and then press Y when the when the bomb splashes. I'll show that off again real quick. So, right here, this is where you want to press Y. And the reason this works is because when a bomb splashes, it creates an item splash Ancilla. That's 3D, so that bomb got replaced with 3D. So now if I try to press Y, the game wants to spawn a bomb, but it can't because the slots are filled. And I didn't mention this, but bombs are actually kind of an exception where they actually only want to live in slots 0 and 1 specifically. So the game sees that slots 0 and 1 are both full, so it can't place the bomb. And when that happens, it sets your slot index to 0. So let's see, what other ways are there? Another common one is, so let's say I spammed arrows earlier in the run, like this. Oops, I need more arrows. Arrows. So now it's set to 4. One fairly common setup is if you have the lamp and the bow and bombs, you can spam lamp 3 times to intentionally set your slot index to a really high value. And then what you can do is shoot 6 arrows in the wall. I'll try to pause while I'm doing this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 4th arrow, so you're going to see my slot index get set to 4, like I mentioned earlier. And the next one is 3. And then with your 6th arrow, it'll get set to 2. I might not be doing this fast enough. We'll see. 2 is an okay value for Splash Delete because... Well, let's see. So I'm going to put 2 bombs in the water now and jump in. So in this case, because slot is set to 2, we're going to subtract 1 to set it to 1. The game is going to try to replace the Ancilla in slot 1 with the Splash. There's a bomb in slot 1. Bombs are not replaceable. Then it's going to keep moving down. It's going to go to slot 0. Slot 0 also has a bomb, which is not replaceable, so the Splash will fail to spawn. See? I don't think I actually mentioned this yet, but in the practice hack, the ancilli that are replaceable are the ones that are red. So boomerang sparkles, wall arrows, ice rod sparkles. I think those are the only 3 that exist, actually. I think sword sparkles are technically the same as boomerang sparkles and silver sparkles. So yeah, that's one way you can kind of fix your slot index. Just to recap, if you know your index is messed up, or even if you're not sure, you can do this anyway. You lamp 3 times, 6 arrows, 2 bombs, and then it works. There's a couple other like really niche ways you can set your slot index back to 0. One you don't really see is actually an ice rod shot in slot 2 will set it to 0 instantly. So if I do something like this where I put a cane down and then let's do like boots dust. Now if I shoot the ice rod, it's gonna spawn in slot 2. This will just instantly set my index to 0. That's just how it works. Similar to how a lamp shot in slot 2 will set it to a really high value. The ice rod shot in slot 2 will set it to 0. Another way is stick your sword out and throw the red boomerang at a wall. Your slot index will slowly decrement. The reason this is happening is because every time the boomerang clinks with the wall, that clink actually replaces one of the many sparkles that are happening. And it will just decrement each time until it gets to 0. I think that's pretty much it as far as slot fixing techniques that I care to talk about. So let's... Oh, actually, I forgot one. I forgot one of the easiest ways to fix your slot index. Reset the game. So not save quit. Your slot index persists through save quit. But if you actually reset your console or your emulator or whatever, that will initialize your slot index back to 0. So if you don't want to deal with bomb drowning or whatever, and you know your slots are messed up, you can just like, next time you save quit your game, just immediately hard reset after you save quit, and that way you'll know your slots are fixed. Okay, so let's get into some examples. I've already shown a couple. Here's a really good place to test things out because this is one of the more difficult splash deletes in the whole game, which is Zora Ledge. Alright, I'll make save state here. So this is tricky because, well, we want to fake flipper and then jump off this ledge, but the thing is, we also need to fake flipper into the water below. So you need your slots to be filled long enough that you have time to jump off this waterfall and still land in the water before they despawn. So you can do this with the bow and bombs. I see some people start here. So 1, 2. Whoop. The timing is a little bit awkward because you're so far away from the wall. 1, 2, 3. This is... See, you can tell this is not the setup I'm used to. Oh, that was actually fast enough. I'm a little bit surprised. But if you're just like even a little bit slower, like 1, 2, 3. Oh, the bomb's actually drowned. I guess I was too close to the wall. 1, 2. Okay, that was like way too slow. All right, I don't know. It's harder than I'm making it look, I think. So actually, when I do this, I normally start up here actually, because I'm closer to the wall, so you can spam the arrows faster. And do 2 bombs as I'm running here. Make sure you mash as you jump off. I find this easier than actually standing closer to the waterfall, like right here. Because the closer you are to the wall, the faster you can shoot your arrows. And really, when you're doing the splash delete, the thing you're racing against is the very first arrow that you shot. You're making sure that you can jump off the ledge before that specific arrow despawns. Oh, that time was too slow. Well, who knows? Maybe it is easier this way. You can try it yourself and see which way you like more. Then another setup you can use here is the one I was showing earlier with the red cane and the red boomerang. This one is a bit tighter. So we'll put a block here. Place 2 bombs. Let's see, can I place them here? Yeah. So I'm going to place 2 bombs, and then because the timing on this is so tight, it is actually a lot easier if you hold your sword out when you throw this boomerang. I'm going to throw it directly to the left. The reason for that is because if you throw the boomerang with your sword out, you skip the throwing animation completely, so you can move sooner than normal. So like this. Oh, I didn't do that right. So you can probably kind of tell it's a big difference doing this versus this. Well, maybe it doesn't look like a big difference, but it's enough of a difference that it can make or break whether the splash delete works. So let's talk about this specific splash delete in a little bit more detail to see what's really happening here. So bomb, bomb, boomerang. So what are we actually filling our slots with in this case? And you'll see there's like some fluctuation going on here. So just going from bottom to top, we see 2 bombs. We see a sparkle. That's the 3C. We see a 0.5. That's the boomerang. And then 2C is the Samaria block. So the reason this splash delete actually works is because the boomerang spawns so many sparkles that one of the sparkles will actually end up in the front 5 slots. That's what that 3C is. So in fact, all 10 of our Ancilla slots are filled in this case. There's a little bit of fluctuation as some of the sparkles despawn. But the reason this works is because there are so many sparkles that one of them will make it into the front 4 slots or the front 5 slots to complement the 4 non-replaceable, non-sparkle Ancilla that we have, being the 2 bombs, the boomerang, and the Samaria block. If you're unlucky, you might hit a frame. I probably should put this down first. Well, let me just show it like this. See if you're gonna land on one. If you're unlucky, you'll hit a frame just like this, where that the sparkle that's actually in the front 5 slots happen to despawn temporarily, and that's just bad luck. There's really no way around this. But the I guess you could call it the uptime on that Sparkle Ancilla is pretty good, so more likely than not, it'll be fine. So let's get into a couple other setups. I'll go here. Turn off my flippers. Okay, so Samaria beams are an Ancilla. Each of them individually are Ancilli. So if you put a block like right here, and fire the Samaria block, you'll create 4 Ancilla, 4 Ancilli, which is more than enough to fill up your front 5 slots. So if I do 2 bombs here, I can blow it up and jump. And that's a really easy way to splash Sleet. Now, this area in particular is really good for this setup. In fact, we could probably do it with only 1 bomb. What the what? Oh, I just turned on out of bounds mode on accident. Okay, forget about that. Pretend that didn't happen. Let's try. So 1 bomb. Well, not quite. You can probably do it. I just wasn't doing it well enough. The top one was despawning before I hit the water. But 2 bombs and an exploding block is very consistent here. Another nice setup I like, which is specific to this ladder over here. You can splash Sleet here using only the red boomerang and bombs. So you put down 2 bombs, and what I'm going to do is jump in this water to get on the lowest possible pixel, and I'm going to throw the boomerang straight down. And then while I throw the boomerang, I'm going to start holding down so that I jump in immediately after. And the timing works out so that the splash tries to spawn as soon as that clink. As soon as the clink happens on the island. Let's see if I can do it in slow motion. Right there, so if you look at our slots, all of them are filled. We have 7-7, that's 2 bombs. 3C is a particle effect. 6 is the clink effect, which even though you can't see it anymore, it still exists for a brief period of time. And then 5 is the boomerang itself. Oh, actually, it's the sparkles that are still on screen. That's interesting. So I guess it's not the clink that does it. I never actually looked at this that closely before, but this is a consistent setup in any case, so you should learn that. Another setup. This one is probably the rarest. Bomb, ice rod. So this one is so niche, I'm not even sure when you'd use this. But I'll show it off anyway. So the ice rod spawns a bunch of sparkles. That's what 13 is. Each ice rod shot, in addition to its main ancilla, which is B, creates 3 sparkles. So if you do 2 bombs and 2 ice rod shots, you'll see that's enough to get one of those sparkles into the front 5. However, the sparkles on the ice rod in particular are very intermittent. I mean, you can just tell watching the HUD that they like kind of flicker like crazy. But if you're lucky, you'll hit the water when there's a sparkle in slot 2, and it will work. So for this location in particular, this is extra jank because there's actually not enough time to shoot 2 ice rod shots and then jump in the water before they despawn. It's actually like not even really close. However, there is a trick to this. And how do I explain it? It's very strange, but basically you can screen wrap an ice rod shot by like you start holding right like you're gonna jump off, but before you jump off you shoot an ice rod shot, and you keep holding right, and then that way like your charge or your jump stays charged, so that as soon as that first shot goes off you'll jump off like shortly after that, like this. And you'll see the when you respawn like that, the ice rod will actually wrap the screen, and that way it will live a little bit longer. So then after you respawn, you can shoot your second ice rod shot, and that one will just stay on the screen long enough for this to work. So long story short, you put down 2 bombs, you start walking into this wall, shoot an ice rod shot, jump in, keep holding right, shoot your second shot, and then jump in, and then you just pray that the sparkles are lining up correctly and it works. It's very jank. You can also use ice rod more consistently here for waterfall fairy. I actually do this one occasionally. This situation is slightly different because there's a lot more like screen real estate to your right. So ice rod shot can travel, well, it'll travel a lot further before it goes off screen and despawns. So you should just be able to do bomb, ice rod here. And then again, you have to get kind of lucky with the timing. I've been lucky so far, but it doesn't have to, it doesn't always work that way. Let's see if I can get a bad one to happen. Like that time it didn't work, even though I did basically the same thing as the first time. Well, that time I only put down 1 bomb. I'm not close enough to the wall. There we go. That time I think I did everything perfectly, but still the timing of the sparkles just made it not work. But usually you'll get it in a couple tries at least. So there's one last setup I'm going to talk about. This is one that is, like, I think most people don't even realize this is possible. But that would be if you are coming out of this cave, without flippers. So like this. This is more common in like entrance randomizer. Like let's say you walk through a connector and now you're here, but you don't have flippers. You're like, oh crap, I guess I have to save quit. Well, you might be able to salvage this. The tricky thing about it though is you'll notice the water splashing on Link's head is actually an Ancilla itself. It's Ancilla 41. Which you might think, okay, great, that's just 1 less slot I have to fill up, right? Well, not really, because as soon as you start jumping, it's going to be replaced. Well, it's not going to be replaced at all. It's going to be deleted, and then you're going to always have this empty slot for the splash to appear in. So, like, you can't do, like, you can't do 3 arrows, 2 bombs here because, well, one of the arrows actually got despawned by the splash shortly before I jumped. It is still possible to do this, however, and that is by taking advantage of sparkles. So one way you can do this is with the red boomerang, like usual. Basically, you just want to fill up 3 slots. So I'm going to do 1 arrow in the wall and 2 bombs. So you'll see there's still 1 empty slot in the front 5. That's important because I want to throw this red boomerang, and I need an empty slot to be able to throw the boomerang in the first place. Now I throw the boomerang down, and now I'm going to jump in the water. So now watch my slots here. You'll see the 41, which is the splash on Link's head. That still exists. But by now it's despawned. However, the boomerang is just going to spawn more sparkles in its place. There they are. So now my front 5 slots are filled again, and this should work. Oh, poop. Now I'm over here again. So that's one way you can do this. You can do pretty much the exact same thing, but instead of red boomerang, you use a silver arrow. Make save state this time. So fill up 3 slots. So I'm putting 1 arrow in the wall and 2 bombs in the ground. I'm gonna shoot a silver arrow down. Oops. Bomb. Arrow. Silver arrow down. Silver arrow generates just as many sparks as the red boomerang does, so otherwise this works exactly the same. You can see the splash, the head splash is gone, but the silver arrow will generate another sparkle by the time I hit the water. Oh, the timing on that was a little bit unfortunate, because it looks like one of the... Oh wait, no, my search index is screwed up. That's the problem, I think. Dang it. I did the exact same thing. Let's try it one more time. Yep, there we go. It might have just been a sparkle timing issue, actually. I'm not sure. But yeah, the sparkle will fill up the slot that used to be occupied by the head splash. And then just one last example. Double ice rod shot with 2 bombs also should work here, because an ice rod sparkle will fill up that last slot. All right, so I think that does it for this video. Sorry it's so long, but I really wanted to go into details just to make sure everything was clear, and hopefully by understanding like the underlying mechanisms and going really into detail with these different examples, you can use this information to come up with your own splash delete setups based on whatever situation you're in. Like, I mean, who knows? Like, what if you really want to splash delete, but for some reason you only have like 2 arrows or something, and you're trying to improvise some kind of setup? Hopefully this video gave some insight on how to do that, or hopefully it was just interesting. But yeah, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, happy randoing, everybody.